Christmas is just around the corner, and for many Nigerian homes, that means chin chin season. This is a staple pastry that is very common for entertaining guests and just snacking on during the festivities. So, hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Let me show you this fail-proof chin chin recipe that I came up with this year. So this recipe is for 500 grams of flour, which is half a kg. You want to start by beating 1 egg with a 1/4 cup of sugar. This is just to help dissolve the sugar. And since that's all the liquid ingredients that I'm using for this recipe, I'll set that aside and proceed with my dry ingredients. So I have 4 cups of flour already sifted, to which I added 1 sachet of milk Flavour. See, don't skip this one. After that, I put half a teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, and half a tablespoon of nutmeg powder. I found that it's a whole tablespoon that's contained in that sachet, so you just have to empty half. Go on to combine your dry ingredients to mix properly, and then introduce your butter. I'm using 3 tablespoons of butter. You can use up to 4 if you like. The thing about butter is it gives your chin chin a buttery feel and taste, but too much of it will just make your chin chin crumbly, and scatter in the oil. So you don't need too much. 3 to 4 tablespoons are just fine. And then you just mix until you have a crumbly texture, until all of the butter is in the flour, just like this. And then introduce your wet ingredients. This is where it gets a little tricky. After you add the mixture of eggs and sugar, I like to add about 1 cup of water, but I add gradually because sometimes I never use more than half. Sometimes I use a little less than 1 cup. So I like to add gradually and then mix until I see that there's still so much powder left, and I add more water, and I just keep adding as I go. That's something you need to do so that your flour or your dough doesn't get too sticky. Now that I'm sure that all my ingredients have come together nicely into a dough, I'm transferring onto a work surface, and I'll just divide into 2 so it will make kneading easier for me. See, this thing is a lot of work. If you make your dough more sticky, if you put more water in your dough, it will be a little less difficult to knead, but like I said before, your dough will just end up getting sticky and might just soak up oil and make everything messy for you. So it's better to maintain this consistency, but that also means you have to put in the work to knead. So I just divided into 2 and kneaded until everything came together nicely, and then I set that aside for 30 minutes to 1 hour. It doesn't really matter if it takes up to 1 hour. Sometimes when I have enough time, I let it sit for up to 1 hour. Other times, just 30 minutes. So now I'm just going to proceed by cutting one part into 2 because one would be too big for me to roll and cut at once. I'll still need a little, not as much as before, but after letting it sit for some time and the baking powder having done its job, the eggs, all the ingredients worked, I would just need a little. Apart from the fact that baking powder increases the yield of your chin chin, not by so much, but it does a little. It also makes for crunchy chin chin. The eggs make your chin chin soft. but you shouldn't use too much baking powder in your chin chin. That's why I think that half a teaspoon of baking powder is enough for half a kilogram of flour for chin chin. I feel like using more than that quantity makes it a little too airy and light. I've gone on to roll and I'm now cutting my chin chin into squares. This is just the standard classic chin chin shape, but you can absolutely make your chin chin in whatever shape that you prefer. This just makes it more convenient to, you know, throw one or two into your mouth, you know, it's easy to snack on. And so I do this in 4 parts, just like I showed you before, and you can see how very easily this comes off my working surface, my work surface. It's not sticky at all. That is something that you don't have to deal with. You don't have to add extra flour when you're kneading or when you're cutting. You don't have to deal with any of that if you just simply follow this recipe to the T. Like I said before, kneading might be a little more work because the dough might be harder than if you put more water, but I feel like it's worth it. Even in the taste at the end of the day, it's worth it. So please try your making your chin chin like this if you haven't, and let me know if it is actually worth all the work. Now onto the last part of this process. I'm going to drop 1 square in my pot. If it sizzles and gradually floats to the top like this, I know that my oil is hot enough, and then I introduce my chin chin in batches. Chin chin is deep fried and you want to have enough oil. You don't want to overcrowd your pan. And for the first batch of chin chin, when the oil hasn't heated up, I feel like you can fry it on high heat. But as you proceed and the oil starts to get really hot, you can reduce your heat to medium heat. So after introducing the chin chin, make sure not to overcrowd your pan. I like to stir every 30 seconds just so that they cook evenly. You know, some don't start to brown before others. And after about 10 to 15 minutes, this chin chin is cooked. See the beautiful golden brownness of this. It's ready and it's absolutely delicious. This chin chin recipe is so basic. You can add anything else like milk to it if you like, or another type of flavor, but every other thing I've mentioned in this video, every other ingredient is imperative for this classic chin chin taste. Please try this out and let me know how it goes. Of course, I fried the rest of the chin chin in batches. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and if it's your first time on my channel, don't forget that to be a part of this community, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button and join the family. Please share this video with people you think it might be helpful to for making the best chin chin this Christmas. Also leave me a comment. You know I love to hear from you, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.